Hello, everybody. It's time for the Geek Show. I'm Spike.
I'm Cal.
I'm Amanda, and we have a guest.
We do
I'm
have a
Ryan.
guest. We do, yes, we have a guest. We have none other than Ryan Estrada, the author of Banned Book Club, among other things. Well, co-author of Banned Book Club, among other things. Ryan has had a long-term working relationship. Wow, that is a great avatar. I just fucking saw it. Holy shit.
I guess I should look at this avatar.
That was really good.
I'm here to join the circus.
Oh, that's a fucking good one. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, Ryan has had a long working relationship with Iron Tickets Comics, co-authoring Banned Book Club, and also helping Shepherd to Press is coming out in the spring of 2023, Occulted, which is another memoir which is about growing up in a doomsday cult. But Ryan is also the author of the series about called Student Ambassador, which we have one book out right now, and a second book is kind of waiting in the wings on completion. But Ryan has like a much longer history than his work with Iron Circus. And you want to go into that real quick?
Yes, I've been making comics forever since I was a baby.
Yeah.
Before I have memories, and decided it was time to go pro when I was 6 years old,
Well,
and no one would hire me until I bothered the same newspaper for a decade, and they're like,
Oh.
they hired me when I was 16, and then I just kept doing it. I've made lots of stuff with Iron Circus, starting with Porcraft 2 back in the
Yeah.
day,
Yeah. That one
and
I forgot.
still
Dang.
going, still
Yeah.
going.
Now, I have known of you and your work for 1,000 years, and I primarily first learned about you because there was like a time in webcomics where we were all sort of like there was no webtoon, there was no Tapas, there was no roadmap, Kickstarter didn't exist, Patreon didn't exist. We were all just kind of flailing helplessly trying to figure it out. And you were on my radar because you were literally traveling the fucking world.
Yeah, a lot of people I think during that time thought that I was like some rich guy traveling the world, but no, it was just because I could not afford to live in America
Yeah.
as a cartoonist. And I spent for a long time. I spent a New Year and I spent a year, every year
rich
I spent in a
comics
new country.
benefactor.
Yeah, for like and I went to places where you can live in a two-story beach house for like $100 a month,
Oh, the
and
dream.
made comics. A lot of teaching jobs and along the way there to keep me from starving to death, but yeah, just making comics.
Yeah, it's just one of those privileges. If you speak English fluently, there's kind of almost no matter where you go, there's going to be a demand for naturally fluent English speakers, and you can probably find a job teaching English to somebody's kids.
Yeah, it was like when I first started, it was like the Wild West here in Korea where like anyone could just show up. Like I came because I was replacing just like some homeless guy that like applied for a job and like showed up with like and just wouldn't leave his room and just drank in his room until they and wouldn't come to
Ooh,
class until they like slowly pulled him out of the room and sent him home and hired
whoa,
me. So it's very easy for someone. It's a lot more complicated now. But yeah,
oh yeah,
when I first started traveling, that's what I did. I came to Korea to teach English, and it was incredibly easy. I sent an email at 2 a.m. and had a job an hour later.
wow. Can I be incredibly? I want my prejudices confirmed. The guy who had to basically be kicked out to make space for you, was he American?
Yes, he was.
Okay, there we go. Prejudice is confirmed. Just checking.
By the way,
But
I'm
you
eating spaghetti.
that's okay. I'm drinking Red Bull. This is a thoroughly unprofessional production. But you've been to like
Uh,
oh,
Spike, I don't know. Idiot white guys come in from every country that speaks English.
yeah,
Um,
I would never say that is not the case, but I have belief systems that we will not go into about how certain people who grew up in certain cultures are more likely to simply impose on people who grew up in cultures where politeness maybe has a higher standard and interpret the lack of get the fuck out as tolerance and oh, they're okay with me doing this. And I just wanted my prejudices confirmed. And I'm
Yeah,
glad that
I,
there's a lot of people here in Korea that got jobs during that period and are still hanging on to them.
mhm.
The long timers that they're known, and people are like, oh, they're still here. All right, and they'll just never leave.
Yeah. So you talk about living in Korea, but you've lived in a whole bunch of places, right?
Hmm.
Do you even have a
I have.
list?
Uh, I mean, I lived in India for a while, for several years. I lived in a few countries in Central America, traveled all across South America. I lived in Thailand after the tsunami doing cleanup. Basically, it's like probably like 20 countries at this point that I've either
Wow.
lived in or traveled to for extended periods. Traveled across Africa for a bit with my sister, who's a zoologist, and got lost in the Masai Mara. Almost got eaten by lions, which is
Oh,
happening again today, of course. Yeah, all over. I've been
that's so
everywhere.
fucking cool. That's so fucking cool. Yeah, I see. I remember one story you used to tell about how you spent a tsunami. Was it? No, it's in the fucking Pacific, so it would be a
Typhoon.
typhoon on a bench in Japan.
Yeah. My my school sent me on a visa run, and they decided they didn't want me to
Sup,
miss class,
Casey?
so they sent me on a Korean national holiday, which
Uh-huh.
of course is when the Korean consulate is closed. And
Naturally.
so I ended up stranded there. I had just like graduated college and flown to Korea for a new life, so I literally had no money. I hadn't been paid yet,
Uh-huh.
and then found out that not only could I not get my visa that day, but the next day there was a typhoon and all flights were canceled. And then for like the rest of the week, they were trying to catch up. And so yeah, I ended up stranded there with no money. Found out that international ATM cards did not work in Japan at that time. Still very
Ooh.
difficult at that time. It was just no, you can't use an American credit card or debit card, and
Ugh.
ended up having to sleep on a park bench.
Oh my god, that sounds so it's like it's one of those stories that while you were living it, it was probably horrifying, but now that you're several years removed, you're like, "That was funny."
Well, I mean that story is kind of what changed my entire life and kept me traveling because, as you mentioned, it was horrifying, and I was also like got the flu during this because and like I was laying on this bench with the flu, throwing up, literally like trees are falling down around me, and all of a sudden, I mean, there's a moment where this random little kitten came up and sat on my chest,
Oh.
and all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I'm fine. Uh,
Oh, wow.
and so all of a sudden, I'm like, if I can handle this, I don't need to be. I just started laughing hysterically, like a mad person in the typhoon. Like anyone hearing me out from a window is probably like, "What is happening?" But I'm just laughing hysterically, petting this cat. And after that, that's how I live my life. Like when I travel, if things go great, great. If they go terrible, I know I can survive it, and I know I can make a comic book about it.
Oh, that's so fucking cool. Do you remember when you were, like, trying to put together a cartoon commune in Mexico? I never said anything, but I was kinda, like, half considering that for a while because that was back when I was just, like, broke as an absolute fucking joke and thinking, "Well, the $200 I make in my tip jar every once in a while, I bet that'd go a lot farther in Mexico."
Yeah, I did that for a year. I was staying with the artist formerly known as John Campbell, who was one of
Mhm.
the cartoon communists. And yeah, I just went and I rented this amazingly beautiful apartment right in the middle
Excuse
of
me.
Zacatecas, Mexico. That our building was literally part of a UNESCO World Heritage Site,
Ooh.
and it like
I'm
cost
choked on a
nothing.
noodle.
And then
Mhm.
a lot of different people just came and went. A lot of
Mm.
strange people. I definitely wouldn't go ahead and say publicly on the internet any artist that wants to come to my house can come now.
Yeah.
But for then it was fun. We had a lot of people showing up, and then some random people that like the movie Half Baked where there's the guy on the couch, and then at the end of the movie they realize no one knows who he is.
Yeah.
Nobody invited him. I
Yeah.
literally had that guy there, like not an artist, just showed up, and then I'm like, "Someone gonna talk to this guy?" And they're like, "Wait, I thought you invited him. I thought you invited him." I was like, "I
Oh
don't
my
know
god.
who this person is. He's been living on my couch for 2 months."
Oh my
But yeah, a
see,
lot of art was made there.
I that's
God, I
actually
would have nonstop anxiety attacks.
Yeah, the closest I've come to that is at San Diego Comic-Con. It's really customary if you're tabling there and it's the end of the day,
Of
you
course you
know,
can choke on a noodle. You can choke on anything if you put your mind to it.
and you've just
Yeah.
you fucking had it. You know, the day's over. You just want to go somewhere, probably the Gaslamp Quarter, eat something, and then go back to the hotel and go to sleep. And everyone just sort of coalesces into a little clot as the floor is closing and all the sort of con meat, which what we call just, attendees who didn't have tables, all the con meat is being shepherded out the door. And we just sit there and we talk until everyone that we personally know has closed their table down, comes up and goes, "Okay, let's go." And so the little clot dislodges and it starts making its way down to the restaurant. And more than once, we have been sitting at that table, and I have been within sight of someone where I'm all like, I wonder who that is. Oh, well, if they're here, if they're with us, they must be someone's friend. And we just have normal conversation with them the whole time. And then on while we're leaving, in much smaller groups, because your friend, you leave with your friends to go back to the hotel or whatever. You're like, hey, who is so and so? And like out of a fucking bad sitcom, I thought he was with you. Like no one knew his name. We never see him again. We have no idea who that was. We can assume, question mark. He was tabling because he was there, he wouldn't be there if he wasn't tabling, right? Question mark, question mark. But God, the
Now,
idea that I walk into my home and there is a dude on my couch and I have no idea who that is terrifying.
I remember. Now, imagine that he has been there for a month and a half,
It sounds awful.
and you have spoken to him once. Well, the only time this dude ever like he literally just laid on the couch. Somehow he was always high.
Oh
He
my
never left the
God.
couch. I never even saw him go to the bathroom. Like he must have gone to the bathroom when I was in the other room. Like I've never seen him leave to go smoke something, but he was always high. Never spoke to me. And then one time I was at my desk working, and all of a sudden he like sat up real fast, like in a movie when people wake up from a dream, and he looks at me with the most intense eyes, and he goes, "Hey, so you like traveled a lot of places, right?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Did you ever see anything spiritual?" And I forget what story I told him. I think I told him about like offering my hair to the gods at a temple in India, and he's like, "Wow," and then laid back down and never spoke to me again.
I
The
mean, I
fact
feel like
is
that's all he needed. He
yeah,
just needed to know that your hair is with gods, and
yeah.
he's done.
Oh my
That's all he
God.
needs to know about you.
That honestly feels like such a quintessential commune experience too, because again, at the same time I was considering like maybe this
God, I
cartoon
can't
commune
even
idea.
I'm like apartment hunting. I was like, why don't you move in, like find people to live with? Like, I can't live with people I don't know.
Yeah. When I was like considering cartoon commune as like sort of an outsider back burner idea, I was going through a period where it wasn't just what you were doing, Ryan, but I was like thinking, I will never be able to afford a home because keep in mind this was like years and years ago, pre crash of the real estate market, which is the only reason I'm a homeowner, by the way, right now, because I got a place that the person was just literally fucking desperate to get rid of after a year plus on the market, and they knocked like 40K off the price. That's the only
I'm
reason.
crossing my fingers that we're about to have another crash.
That would be amazing, and it would help a lot of people. But the things I was considering, because keep in mind, I was in Chicago and I was walking by billboards that I'll it's like this is like trauma. I'll never not forget this. I took psychic damage that would say things like studios from the low 350s. And it's like I'm never going to be able to afford anything ever. And I was weighing my options. One of them was the cartoon commune. One of them was just straight up moving to Detroit and buying one of those $1, $5 houses that nobody wanted to live in. And
Spike, I remember talking to you when you were
yeah,
discussing Detroit. You weren't gonna
yeah,
buy one. You were gonna buy like 10.
yeah, I remember that
Um,
bit. I was going to buy a block and because if they're $5 each, and I was thinking, well, we could just buy a block and maybe I could go in on this with other friends I know who wish they were homeowners because it's not like we'd be in each other's fucking hair. We'd each have a house and then we could turn the spot in the middle into a community garden. And of course, this is neglecting the big issue with this sort of thinking, which is, and I quote, never own the nicest house in a bad neighborhood. But yeah, it's like that's the thing I associated with you most, just the cartoon commune. I was so sad when that closed down because I was like, "Fuck, there goes my chance. What if it's the only chance I ever had?"
That's why I traveled, is because I could get a house big enough to have a cartoon commune for, like, what I would pay for my electric bill in,
Yeah.
the US.
Yeah, and I know there are people who are doing something similar to that right now, like, they're living in Thailand or Venezuela or something, and they get an entire house with a pool and a great view of the beach, and they're paying what their Patreon gives them, which is, like, $300, and it's like,
Mm.
"Fuck, maybe I messed up."
Oh, we all messed up. We definitely did. Just in different ways.
Yeah.
At different points. For different reasons.
But hey, you have kind of been in South Korea how long now?
Well, I first went in 2002, and then I came and went a few times, but this trip, living here in Busan,
Mhm.
Hyunsuk and I have lived here about 10, 11 years now.
So you're, like, normal now, how scary.
Yes, yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah,
But
my version of settling down is, living in Busan, South Korea.
yeah, and I have to admit, I'm a terrible person, first of all. Second of all, one of the things that's kind of fascinated me about, like, what you're doing there and just Korea in general is in America, manga, massive profile, everybody knows what manga is. It's some of the best selling, if not the best selling comics in North America right now, or manga, like, period, end of. Um, but no one really talks about manhwa, and you seem pretty plugged into the people who are making comics in Korea.
Yeah, manhwa is, the main thing here now is webtoons. Like, manhwa now is usually, a lot of reprints of webtoons or, like,
Oh.
imported, manga, but that's the big thing here, and that's where, like, webtoon comes from, and a lot of those are, like, offshoots of Korean companies.
Mhm.
But, like, the way webtoons works here is that it's like, Daum and Naver, which are the local equivalent of, like, Google, at the top where you'd see images, they have a webcomics button. So it's
Oh,
like, imagine
wow.
if if your webcomic was on the front page of Google.
Jesus.
So, like, everywhere you go, you see people on the bus reading webcomics, those long scrolly ones, and, I mean, again, that those are all run by these huge companies that are the size of Google, so it's the people who get those deals are doing very, very well, but all of the other people that are posting their comics trying to get those deals are maybe not making any sort of a living. But
Yeah.
the government has been really supportive. Actually live across the street from the Busan Global Webtoon Center, which is this giant, massive building that offers free office space to, like, upcoming web cartoonists, and has big
Wow.
workspaces that anyone can go and, check in for the day and grab a desk and work. And
Oh my
they have
god.
conventions there and stuff, and they're trying to help people build their careers. The funniest things is like, getting one of those webtoon deals is so much the goal here. There's actually, there's several movies about, like, people trying to get webtoon deals, and then, like, action movies or horror movies that start off with that premise. There's a movie called Webtoon that's about someone who makes a deal with a ghost, get a down webtoon deal, and then they stole an idea from a ghost, and then find out that all the comics they make about murder, the murders start happening.
Oh
And
my
then
god.
there's a movie called Hitman, that is about a hitman who dreams of being a web cartoonist, so he
Oh.
fakes his own death and tries to get a webtoon deal, but no one will read any of his stuff, so he makes a comic about stuff he did as a hitman. But then because of that, people find out he didn't fake his death, and, like, or they did fake his death, and they're starting to hunt him down over his comics. It's a genre here
Oh my
of
god.
people would kill to get a webtoon deal.
An Ouroboros. I Can you be honest? What is your just general, you don't have to justify it if you don't want to. You
I
don't have
like
to
how
go
you
into
phrase it
detail
like,
if you don't
can
want
you
to.
be honest? Like, are you capable of
No,
honesty,
no, what I mean is
Yeah.
Brian?
I am asking, is it possible in the context of
I know
a
what you
video that
mean.
will be on the internet for a while at least, can you be honest? What is your opinion of webtoons as an entity?
Um, I mean, what do you mean by webtoon? Because in Korea, webtoon just means any comic that's on the
Uh,
internet. It
the
doesn't
Yeah.
mean, like,
company the
there's that long.
company Webtoon.
The company
Eh,
webtoon. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not extremely reading it. The ones in Korea are all in Korean, and I haven't really read any on
Mm.
the American version. And I've just seen Twitter drama recently, and I've been like, oh no, do I
Oh.
want to read that and
They
see
are
what's going
also
on?
managed differently.
Yeah, that I
Yeah.
have seen the Twitter drama discussed. For folks who missed the 3 seconds it was available, pretty much, there was a Twitter registered, I believe it was called Webtoons Exposed, and it dropped a bunch of what I can only assume was NDA'd info about what Webtoon Pay was. And like I said, it was there for about 3 seconds and it got taken down, and that's what makes me think that the information it dropped was NDA'd. But it also disclosed some things about, Webtoons' business practices, and the one that I remember best is Webtoons has regional departments, and they have a South American department, and of course, the South American, department doesn't publish in English. It publishes primarily in Spanish. And the Twitter whoever was behind the Twitter account wrote something to the effect of bilingual Spanish English creators are most in danger of being taken advantage of by webtoons because they will try and sign you to the South American branch of the company, which pays way less than the North American branch of the company. Like the Spanish language branch of webtoons pays much less, and they try and get as many creators as they can under the South American or Espanol part of the company. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like big company stuff, large company stuff. I don't
Yeah,
know if any of
we
that's true, by the way. I just read it on Twitter.
used to be us scrappy punks out there like making stuff ourselves, and now the big businesses have even taken over
Yeah.
webcomics.
Yeah. And I have very mixed feelings about it. I think I've talked about it on the show a couple of times. I'm glad question mark that there are high profile webcomics out there all over billboards in Los Angeles and in Times Square, and that there are little 16-year-olds out there with stars in their eyes dreaming of the day that they can have a webtoon and get a paycheck and not have to do all the shit that you and I, and frankly everyone on this call right now does. You know, self promotion, mailing out arcs, trying to figure out where we can tour, where we can speak, where we can do this, that, the other. That's a pain in the ass. And I can imagine when we were in our 20s, we would be all like, "Oh shit, there's someone who'll just do all that for me and I could just sit back and draw a comic and just collect money. Whoa,
I
sign me
mean,
up."
to
Like
be
I
fair, when I was that young, I didn't even know you had to like self promo at all. Like that was like
yeah.
honestly all that shit was a shock to me. So it's not like I went
Mhm.
into web comics and indie comics knowing what I was in for. I just went in, me want to make a comic. Okay,
Yeah.
I do
But
that.
from what I've heard, it's like if the business is as huge as it appears to be to me, and it seems pretty fucking huge, the pay that is coming down is kind of giving me, "Is this what we fought for?" vibes.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, in Korea,
Um,
like I like it's been hard to it's hard for me to know exactly the inner workings of it with the language barrier. But like I said, there are people that supposedly are making a lot of money, but then there's a lot of people that aren't. But as an example of like how big the business is here, um, one of the things is like in Korea, webcomic movies are what superhero movies are in the United States, maybe more so. Like
Mm,
literally every movie that comes out is based on a webcomic. Every TV show that comes out is based on a
wow.
webcomic. Every Netflix Korean show is based on a
Mhm,
webcomic.
mhm.
And one of my favorite things that I tell people when I explain how big webcomics are, if you stay at a love hotel in Korea, which is like that, you can stay the night, you can stay for an hour, but these are like very high end fancy places. There's like a theater screen in your room, and you have a little remote to choose what to do. Porn is 3 screens deep. Webcomics is on the main page.
Wow.
So you can walk into a love hotel, sit in bed naked, flip on and read webcomics on a theater screen.
That is oh my g see, the only experience I have with, and I'm not even sure, it's been years. There was a, I guess K-drama, that doesn't feel right, but there was a Korean show called
Oops.
Kingdom that was on English Netflix, which was about zombies in feudal South Korea. That was a webtoon, wasn't it?
uh,
Possibly, I don't remember.
I don't
Mhm.
think that one was a webtoon because they usually advertise pretty hard which ones are webtoons.
Okay.
That one wasn't, but a different horror one got picked up and was adapted by Netflix that I forget
Mhm.
the name of. And then there is one called Love and Leashes, which is a BDSM rom-com.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
That was a webtoon that got picked up by Netflix. So I watched a couple of the Korean shows that were webtoons first.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hellbound
Look,
is the series you're talking about. That webcomic was actually by Hyunsuk's nephew is a cartoonist in Korea, and he has one of those free studio spaces, and his studio
wow.
made the webcomic that was based on.
Mm, that's so cool. It's like, I can't I sometimes think, like, no American cartoonist could really grasp the infrastructure other countries have to support comics. And, the jealousy is there, but the jealousy is always tempered by the knowledge of just because Webtoon is offering free workspaces and just because they're on billboards in Times Square and all over Los Angeles and whatever, that doesn't mean that the artists are being treated
Yeah.
any better. Because
That's
yeah.
why in Korea the government has really kind of stepped in to support stuff. And it's
Mm,
not just webcomic. Like the support for the arts in Busan. Like I mentioned, I can look out my window and see the Global Webtoon Center. There's also a giant place where literally anyone in the city can go and rent high-end camera equipment, boom microphones.
wow.
There's a room with like a giant green screen, like bigger than a house, you can use for free. There's editing bays, there's sound recording studio, there's literally a theater you can premiere your films in for free. Um,
Wow.
uh, and yeah, all these different, like around the city, there's places where artists can sign up to like have a little store and sell their art,
Oh my
all kinds of
god.
stuff.
And I know that part of this is definitely just because, like Korea isn't unique in this. I have Canadian friends and they talk about the support for the arts that happens in Canada. I know a lot of Canadian publishers, they get grants from the government because they don't want domestic product being drowned out by entertainment imports, which is can be a danger.
Because there's a whole board in Korea that tries to do that, tries to support it, and tries to,
Yeah.
and they've been supportive of banned book club as well, even though it's technically
Yay.
an American book.
Cool. Yeah, and honestly, if I can say it again, if anybody over there is interested in fucking doing it the bullshit antiquated way, please link me to them so I can check them out and see what they're up to because I think even with Webtoon, and I'm not gonna sit here I try really hard to not be a Luddite and just be like, "Ugh, long scroll bad." I don't wanna be that. But I want to see more of sort of the more traditional formats and the kind of stories being told in those traditional formats, and maybe people who are kind of like me, not necessarily contrarian, but, like, wary, who maybe
Well, I mean,
think
it is
twice.
still
Yeah,
happening. Again,
yeah.
webtoons just
Oh,
is
yeah.
the word for webcomic. It's not all
Yeah, I know.
webtoons
I get
platform.
I get it's Kleenex, but
Yeah.
when there is a large trellis, like Webtoon, with the trademark R after it, the company of Webtoon, a lot of people are gonna look at it and be like, "Oh, that looks so much easier than trying to grow on my own." And I have feelings about that. I just have feelings about
I'm
that. I
not,
have
I'm just saying
multiple
the
topics
traditional
of
stuff is still happening.
yeah, I know. It's not all webtoons.
I mean, even
Just
on Webtoon, it's still there's traditional styled comics still existing that are ignoring the
yeah, like
format.
oh, that's
I
good to
I
know.
Oh yeah, no,
well,
there's a lot of it.
they're not paid by webtoons. They're just
Right.
hosting on webtoons.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know the only, knowledge I have of, people like that are I have friends who
And do
have
you know why they're still maintaining those formats?
tell me.
Because they still want to sell their dojins. Well, not it's not technically dojins, but you know what I mean. The
Oh,
equivalent
yeah,
of
They
dojins.
still want to publish. Yeah, they still want to print a book one day.
yeah.
But
And
yeah,
I have opinions about that too because 'cause I've seen what some webtoons look like on the printed page, and I'm like,
But a lot of them, that's what I'm saying. A lot of them know better.
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
It's
yeah,
not just uh infinite scroll forever, page to page turning is
yeah.
dead.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah, and
I
I'm
posted recently. I found this. I haven't even seen them in stores. I found it in a flower shop of all places. But someone was selling. This flower shop was selling books of this webcomic. they were like really, really long and tall, and like
Mhm.
they'd have like volume one, volume two, and like you put them together, and like they like fit next to each other. But you can actually read the webcomic on like when you open it, it makes it like twice as tall, so it's like
Hmm.
2 feet tall, something like that.
I mean, weird.
And so like some people are playing with it, playing with the print to make it look like a webtoon.
I
God,
mean,
that is
that happens here too with like American made comics. Cause like I remember I bought one and I pre-ordered one and I got it and it was a really it was the wide kind of newspaper strip style. But you know how a lot of
Mhm.
times what they'll do when they release styles like that, they will like stack them 2 on 2 so they can be kind of more manageable ratio.
Yeah.
This one left them in just one per page, blown up into a really huge size. It was impossible to read. It would just droop over my lap, and I'm like, I can't read this. Why did you do this to me? And I've got a big lap.
Another thing that I love here in Korea that I wish I could take advantage of more, but I don't, I can't read Korean well enough to understand them. There are manhwa cafes like
Oh,
all over the
ooh.
city where you just pay like $1 an hour and go in, and it's just full of every volume of every manga, every manhwa, and you can just read through entire, 80 volume books for $1 an
See,
hour.
that sounds so
You
nice. It's
have
like
beanbag chairs and all that stuff.
yeah. I know in America, and I have to know this. Every year I get debriefed by my distributor about sort of a state of the industry kind of thing. And one of the things that they talk about is how libraries have really benefited from the manga surge that is continually happening as we speak, because no parent is going to go into the bookstore with their kid and the kid's going to point at Naruto or whatever and be all like, I want that one. And the parent is going to be like, there are fucking 80 volumes of that. No, you are getting a you're getting a library card. And so libraries have a massive incentive to just buy entire lines, entire runs of manga and just stick them on the shelf and make it known to the world like, hey, we have every single one piece. Come and get it. So it's like that's a thing that I am constantly aware of and thinking about how open libraries are to comics and how they've been honestly one of your biggest proponents and buyers.
God.
Oh yeah,
Now I'm
Yeah.
do
angry.
love me some libraries.
Libraries have been really amazing for Banned Book Club because it came out at like the perfect time. It came out, Trump was in office. There was this weird, gross, super anti-intellectualism vibe, like at the highest echelons of government. There were people who weren't trying to ban books at the time, but they were just taking
They're getting
delight.
ready.
Yeah, they were taking
Rubbing their
delight
greasy
in
little
getting
hands like,
backwards as fuck, and librarians just ordered banned book club by the buttload, if I could alliterate a little bit, and that was great, and you got, like, an Eisner nomination. You got, like, Ringo noms for that too, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a very decorated book, and I was
you said,
you could
wait a second. Wait, why are you asking like we wouldn't know that?
I'm asking Ryan, I'm just making sure.
Making sure you commissioned me to make all the promo materials for these things. Like,
Amanda, that was literally a year ago.
stop being coy.
I don't remember everything. I'm just making sure I don't misspeak.
Nah, that never
But
stopped you before.
shut up. But you have other books getting ready to come out with us too, don't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm very excited for Occulted, especially with what
Me
everything that's
too.
going on right now.
Me too. Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. So how did you meet Amy Rose? I'm curious.
Amy's just a good friend of ours here in Korea. She's a part of the same little artist community and does spoken words and stuff. And I did a storytelling show called NDA, where the whole joke of it was that anyone that came in the building had to sign an NDA at the door so that
Oh.
people could tell the stories that like no one would ever like that they couldn't tell otherwise. And a lot of people admitting to crimes and fun crimes,
Oh, okay.
not like I did a murder, but
Yeah, like how I used
I
to
spray
shoplift.
painted a yeah. I
Like how
spray
I
painted a
used to
penis.
shoplift from Hobby Lobby.
I spray painted a penis on the gym wall in high school.
hmm.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Oh god, there's a story
Excuse me.
on a similar topic that is a banned book related story that, oh god, I wish I could tell, but I've been sworn to secrecy. Should make another book about it.
Sure.
But Amy Rose told that story on stage, and this powerful version of it, like in tears, and
Oh.
just the entire audience could feel every heartbreak at the same time and then be put back together at the same time.
Oh.
And like we were all just amazed that we all knew Amy so well. We never knew that story. And then there was one other one that, like, because of that theme NDA, and like I didn't have permission to talk about, like I couldn't talk about it. And then eventually Amy kind of told the story on a podcast, and then I kind of floated the idea, you think you'd be interested in making a book about this? So Amy was nice enough to work with me on writing the book. It was not the easiest thing for Amy to do. Like, do you want to process all of your life trauma in the form of
Yeah.
adult book? But yeah, we worked together to tell it as best we could, and it became a whole kind of, the Busan community came together to make this book happen, because
Oh,
um, you know, Jungmin Lee, the artist, is also a part of this community. She is a local artist, and we all just kind of worked together to make this book.
that's awesome. I'm so excited to see how this one sort of lands, you know what I mean? I think you have really sort of just the popularity of Ben Book Club. This is the way the world works, everyone. I'm not saying it's fair, I'm just saying that's how it is. Once Ryan has now published Banned Book Club, and every librarian from between here and, Sacramento knows what Banned Book Club is. And you've been doing, by the way, an amazing fucking job under your own steam doing promo. Like, that is so remarkable. Uh, now that people know who Ryan is, when the salesperson from our distro is going to come in and do their thing, and he says, or she says, Ryan Estrada has a new comic out from Iron Circus. And those librarians will be like, oh, cool, we'll take five before the sales pitch is even finished. Because that's just how life is. It's a snowball rolling downhill. One of the more unfair things in the world of promo is the more people that have heard of you, the more people who will hear of you. Because just it's so fucking tough to get your foot in the door, but once it's in the door, I wouldn't be surprised if Occulted had, just because of its packaging and the name on the cover, if Occulted had the same experience that another book of ours recently had, Radium Girls, where we sell out of the entire run before the release day. I mean, I can't promise anything. I have no crystal balls, but I think that is an entirely in a possibility. A possibility. I'm excited to see what happens.
I really hope people read it, because like what's wonderful about working with people and like memoirs like this and telling people true experiences is I'm allowed to be to like talk about how excited I am for the book, and how I'm allowed to brag about it, because it's
Mhm.
not something I made up in my dumb brain. It's like it's a real life experience that is meaningful to me, and I'm like, I think that this will help people.
Yes.
And not that it's like a self-help book. It's a story that's like, mystery and horror and all this stuff, but like the things that Amy Rose learned and the things that she taught me in writing this book, I think there are people that it's going to help. So I'm very excited for it to come out, and I have been working my butt off to make sure that librarians know who I am and remember who I am. Like, I
Mm.
have like 12 library visits this week alone because of banned book club, but
Wow.
like every single week I'm doing like at least two or three. Like, and since I live in Korea, I'm like, I got alarm set for like, oh, I got a library in Texas at 2 a.m. I got a library in Minnesota at 5 a.m.
That's amazing.
I'm
And
just
how do you
talking to
do
any library that
this?
wants.
Do you just email people out of the blue and be like, "Hi, I'm Ryan Estrada," or what?
I mean, a lot of them are um just like book clubs. Like, libraries decide for themselves to feature banned book club as one of their book club picks, and
Ooh.
every single time they do that, I just show up like Beetlejuice. If it's no, I'll message them and say, hey, I'm the author. Would you be interested in me joining? And they're like, oh yeah, definitely.
Oh,
If
cool.
it's adult, I don't
That
do it with
badger.
kids, because I don't want to freak out a library and have like a random adult show up.
Uh-huh.
If it's like an adult book club or like a college book club, I'll literally just show up in the Zoom. It's
Oh,
really
that's
fun, and they'll
neat.
be like, "Who's this guy?" I'm like, "Oh, hi, I wrote the book." And they're like, "Wait, what?"
That's super cool. That's
Um,
so good.
yeah.
And
So
I
that's what
honestly
the, book club visits are, but also, like, with the workshops,
Yeah, I was thinking that Badger, I was thinking how it'd be like, watch, watch. If we mention the book, he'll appear. I told you, I
I
told you.
do.
you'll come out of
I
the
do.
mirror like
Yes, that's
Candyman.
happened. Yep.
So you've got a
But, like,
Google alert set to Man Book Club, Ryan Estrada, or
oh, yeah,
something. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
I have, I always have Google open on every device with, set to in the last, 24 hours.
Mhm.
I'm always checking.
Damn.
And
But I also do
honestly
workshops, and I
yeah.
that's stuff that I set up with them, and, like, I've been the last time I went to ALA, I wasn't promoting, my books because I don't have a new book out this year. I was promoting, that I do free workshops for any library, any school, anytime, and I had a list of the different
Wow.
workshops that I do, and a lot of people set it up through that. I've posted, like, in the American Library Association, Facebook groups about my free workshops, and, yeah, people set it up through that, and sometimes it's just if I see a library talking about a topic related to one of my books, I'll just say in the comments, if you ever need a free workshop, let me know.
Oh,
Or even if they tweet about my book, I'll be like happy to join in an virtually anytime. And we get a lot of them set up. And I just mostly I just love doing it because since I'm a full time author now, I work from home, and that's literally the only time I talk to people that aren't my wife. So it's just human interaction is one of the goals, but it's nice to have librarians know who I am so that they
yeah, it
keep
matters.
checking out our book.
Yeah, the thing that I always try to communicate to our creators when they ask is it's you kinda need to be put out there and be making yourself available, and as a person who sees all the numbers from all the authors, all the creators,
God.
people like you who go to book clubs and are always tweeting and have a dedicated Twitter and have the Google alert and make themselves visible online and available and kind of keep, forgive me for the gross language, pushing the brand. And people who don't do that, people who I have to coax into getting a Twitter and coax into posting art and don't really reply to people who at them on social media, there's a difference in the bottom line. And
I mean,
I
I
my
get it, but that's so unfair.
it is, it oh my god, I'm in
People,
complete
no,
agreement with you.
I hate it because it's like people
I
aren't
get
built
it.
for that, and if you're not good at it, you're not good at it.
Yeah, there are people who are really extroverted and people
I mean,
who,
we've talked about that
you know,
before. Kel talked about that before. It
yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
I
fair, and I
mean,
would never claim it's fair, but it's real. It's real.
Well, I mean,
I'll
for me,
go on
the
every I'll go on every podcast that will have me, and I will do a million interviews. I just don't want to constantly be tweeting.
If I can say this to any maybe potential authors, aspiring authors, people who want to put out comics or books or what have you one day in the future, even if you're a person who isn't anything close to interested in publishing, a person who wants to make a video game or something like that. The whole idea of publicity, and this is again me speaking from experience, is people have this idea it's this great big push when the product comes out. And then during awards season, another great big push, and that's publicity. And there, I did the publicity. And no, publicity is a thing that you need to be constantly
I
doing
mean, not
over and over
necessarily.
and over. It helps.
It
It does
can, but
help.
depending on what you're making and what you're doing, it's not necessarily important.
I
And it
personally feel
also it
again,
also depends on where you're doing it because like I
oh
said,
yeah,
like
I'm
if
not
you are a children's book author, tweeting all day is not going to get children
well, no,
to
I'm not saying
yeah.
that what you have to do is you have to run down to the mall with a bullhorn and yell, "Buy my book." Like, that's not going to work. The Jay Sherman from The Critic, "Buy my book" stand up isn't going to be effective. You have to know where to do this sort of promo. And when I say doing promo, I mean it can be like Ryan was talking about. It can be replying to a book club going, "Oh my god, I wrote this. I'm so glad you like it. If you want me at the monthly meeting, just let me know. I'm always available. Hearts, hearts, hearts." Like, that's promo. uh Tweeting a picture of you holding your book, I went for a walk and this spot in the park inspired this scene in this book, isn't that cool? Then tweeting that,
God, that feels
that's
so
promo.
fake to me.
and for a lot of people, it doesn't come naturally,
Like,
and I
and you know me,
understand
I
that.
I share like everything. I share a lot. I'm very social, but there's like a level where it's like I cannot because this feels fake as shit. Like I was not going for a stroll and thought of my own book. I was going for a stroll and was staring at an ugly dog.
And I get that. But again, as someone who sees the back end of
Oh no, I'm
everything,
sure it works. I believe
yeah,
you that it works. I'm
I
not
will
in
honestly,
denial of that. I'm
no.
just saying, bleh. Even as someone who handles like promo and is really social and way more than Kel, even I'm sitting here going, bleh.
Yeah. If you to anyone here, like, is kind of worried, "Oh, I need a publicist," or something like that, if they do have a project out, one of the best things you can do is just do what Ryan did, set up a Google alert with, specifics, especially if the title is very vague of whatever you're doing, your name and the project together, and Google will just deliver right to you who's talking about you and what
Goo-
they're saying.
Google, the if you get the like automated Google alerts though, they are completely useless.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah?
they are. No, they are
They'll
garbage.
Yeah, like once a week it'll send me like, "Did you know this guy at Ryan Estrada tweeted about you?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me."
Yeah.
Um, or like it's
What
just
once it
or
sent
it's
me,
something unrelated to me. But
I
like
I
during the
keep
same period,
getting
there's like major
I
magazines writing
keep
about me and
getting
stuff.
yeah, I keep getting Google alerts about McDonald's in this one city in Hawaii that starts with KEL.
Yeah, well, a little shepherding does need to be done, but
I s- a few months ago, I got a Google Alerts for Love Me Nice for an update I posted 2 years ago. No, like 3 years ago. Even though I had recently posted an update. So it gave me an update from myself, which was like, okay, that was extremely out of date. You cannot trust the automated Google Alerts.
no, but it
And I
does
mean, what's
help
weird
people with
is
other things.
Band Book Club has won awards that I would not know about if I didn't Google myself with every last 24 hours set up. Because no one ever emailed me about it. No one It never showed up in my
Yeah.
Google emails.
I have
It
learned
just like
about that shit from you because they don't email me either. It's kinda crazy. But honestly, really, and I know there's going to be a lot of buts and exceptions but you also have tos when it comes to this, but at the end of the day, if there is a blanket statement I can make, it's participate in your own promo. It helps, it matters. The bottom line
and
shows the difference.
what I'll say, like you were mentioning, making a dedicated Twitter account for the book.
Mhm.
A lot of people think of that as going above and beyond, but that's actually makes it easier because you don't have to worry about like if I make a Twitter about the book and the only people that would ever follow that are people who want updates about that book, I don't need to stress about like if I reply to a library and say, "Hey, I'm happy to do a workshop," like am I just going to be annoying everybody because I do that 10 times a day? Or like if I post promo, I'm not worried about like how do I make this sound real? Like I don't have to make it sound real. It's a Twitter account about promoting that book.
Yeah.
And like the best thing you can do when you make a Twitter account for your book is just go in the user search and search for ones that meant bios that say library or bookseller and just follow every single interesting person you can find
Mm.
and just like and that's how reading those books are how you find out about things, how you find out opportunities and conferences and like virtual events that you can
So
volunteer
you're
for,
saying I
be
should
involved
hire
in.
you to handle that for me?
um I already spend too many hours of my day doing it for being Hyunsuk. I'm already Hyunsuk's social media manager.
No, the fair, fair,
Um,
fair, fair.
yeah,
Honestly,
and
though,
then
Ryan, like, absolutely not bullshitting you here. If you are ever available to be commissioned to write just like a 1 to 5 page document we could hand out to creators who don't know where to start with self promo, the door is permanently open because you're a fucking
right,
master at it.
excellent. And then, but then the other thing with that, once you have that account, you don't have to specifically do promo. If if librarian posts a cool like display and you reply and say cool display, have promoted your book because they just got an alert from that book. And,
Yeah.
not that you're trying to like, not that it's sneaky, like, I'm going to trick them into reading an ad about my book. I thought it was a cool display. But,
Yeah.
a librarian is going to care that an author whose book is in their library is commenting on their display.
Yeah, when Patience and Esther, that's another book Iron Circus publishes, folks. It is a title with erotic elements about an Edwardian romance. when it got challenged at a library recently, I made sure to at the library from the Iron Circus account, going, "Thanks so much for defending everyone's right to read what they want." And that was faved by them. And that's an interaction that they will remember. And that is promo, everyone. And I know there's a lot of people who are probably sad to hear all this, that it's so much, air quotes, work to
Yeah.
keep a high creative profile. But that's just kind of the era we're in right now.
Blech.
I'm just I do so much of it just because like until band book club, no one ever cared about anything that I made. So now that
Oh,
people are like talking about it, I'm like, ooh, they're talking about my book. 3 years later, I still get really excited every time.
yeah, you got to keep the momentum
Oh
going.
God, it's been
And
3 years. Ah,
yeah, yeah. And I mean, it
freaking
matters.
out.
Keeping your work in front of people matters.
Oh,
And one
you're
of the
right,
tough
Badger. I should have asked him to do it for exposure. I'm an idiot.
one of the tough things is that graphic novels, as a general rule, take not that prose doesn't take a while to write, but novels take a very long time to do
Yeah.
in proportion to how quick they are to read. And so they are imperiled with being forgotten, in my opinion, at a higher rate than a prose author might be. Because a prose author, if they are really on their game, just bam, 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 Stephen King style, every year and a half, they can have a new book. Whereas a graphic novel might
I
take
mean,
2 years of production.
Sean McGuire puts out 3, 4 books a year.
Yeah, yeah. And shonen is shonen, and I'm not going to say everyone should have that level of production in them, but it's
Good, because I
possible.
won't.
But it's possible with prose. And excuse me, unless you're Randall Monroe, and I don't mean that in a bad way, that's not really a thing that you could probably do with comics, unless you're like a mangaka with an entire stable of uncredited assistants.
I have painted my hand, so it looks like I don't have fingernails.
Congratulations. I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy for you. But yeah, Ryan, do you have anything other than Iron Circus stuff coming up? Because I'm curious. If you can't talk about it, that's fine. But I'm only sort of preoccupied with what you do with Iron Circus for obvious reasons. Is there anything that might have escaped my notice?
Well, yeah, I mean, the big thing that I'm working on right now is No Rules Tonight that's coming out from Penguin Workshop,
Eh,
Ah,
uh, and colored by someone else in this
eh,
Zoom.
eh,
Yeah.
eh,
ooh,
Um,
I wonder who's a
eh,
colorist in here.
eh.
that's another story that I'm working on with Hyunsuk about her college days. That was originally I thought of as a joke that of the band book club Christmas special, and then it
Yeah.
evolved into an actual whole graphic novel that's longer than band book club.
Wow. Yeah, you did present it to me as Red Book Club Christmas special. And I was like, I don't know. I do remember that.
Hmm.
Thank you for coming to me first, by the way. That was very thoughtful.
So yeah, it's I mean the joke was like, what if we made a Christmas special for people that don't about people that don't celebrate Christmas?
Mhm.
But Christmas was a very different thing in Korea in the 1980s because they had the curfew, and the curfew was started by the American soldiers, and like you could go to jail if you're out after midnight,
Oh.
and the only exceptions were holidays, but during all the Korean holidays they had stuff to do at home.
Uh-huh.
So the only holdover the only one night of the year where you could go out and do anything you wanted was December 24th, which is a holiday that meant nothing to most of the people in Korea.
Uh-huh.
So it became a holiday of debauchery and partying.
Wow. Today I learned. That sounds interesting. And this is going to be a kid's book?
Yep, young adult.
Wow. Oh, okay, okay. So what is like the expat scene like in South Korea? I'm curious.
It's like especially the reason I love living in Busan is there's just like this amazing art community here.
Mhm.
There's a group called Liquid Arts that kind of has shepherded it into existence.
Mm.
And what I love about here is that there's just enough people that like first of all, like a lot of the people here are on teaching visas, so it's illegal for them to like they can't get a job doing art. So they're looking for outlets. And
Uh-huh.
so like there's a lot of like open stages and stuff where people will come up and do music, storytelling, they'll put on plays and all of these things. And the community is just the right size that there's enough people that things don't get cliquish. There's a lot of people doing art, but it's not like I've heard of other cities where it's like, oh, you want to be in our play? Like, who are you? But here it's like if
Ooh.
someone's doing a play, they're like, if you do any sort of art form, someone's like, hey, come over here, you're in our play. And then I'll go to the play people and be like, hey, we're doing a 24-hour comics day. Like, I don't make comics. I'm like, I don't care. And they'll come over and they'll make a comic, and like that's what happened
Oh.
with Jungmin Lee. She the who illustrated Occulted. Um Jungmin is just an illustrator and had
Oh.
never made a comic before, never thought about it. And then I did a 24-hour comic day, invited Jungmin along. She made her first comic, and I'm like,
You got an eye for this.
24 hours later, I'm
Mm.
like, this is one of my favorite comics I've ever read. What?
That's
And
so
then
fucking
and
cool.
her second comic was Occulted for Iron Circus Comics.
That's so fucking cool. I'm so glad that, just tangentially, but that I got to have like a part in that. That's so fucking cool. I'm so excited for Occulted now, even more than before. But if I could be extremely intrusive, like the cost of living in South Korea, what was that compared to, say, the US cost of living?
I think it's mostly pretty similar. Like housing here is the really, really expensive bit.
Oh.
And it's always rising. My favorite, one of my favorite things, like we're the thing is in Korea, you don't pay rent. That rent is an option, but the main thing is called junse,
Hmm?
and what that is to get an apartment by giving them a huge, huge deposit. It can be like six figures, sometimes seven figures,
Oh my
and
god.
then you stay there for 2 years, and they give all of that money back. Literally,
Ah.
like it's
Um,
just like if you have enough money to give them that, then you live in that apartment for free. And that's what
ooh.
that's the place that we live in. And it's we live in like an older building, and we found out that since we moved here like 3 years ago, like this was not a very expensive building when we moved in. But since we moved in here, we found out if we were to buy this apartment now, it would be like $1.6 million.
Blech.
Oh my
And I'm
god,
like,
that's
wait, what?
insane. Oh
But
my god.
our since we had that contract, our thing hasn't gone up because they have our deposit and they keep it until we move out.
Wow, that's crazy. But it's it's interesting because, I didn't keep track of, like, sort of property costs myself when we first moved in. We got our apartment for, like I said, significantly less than the person who sold it to us wanted to sell it for, but by that point, they had retired and they had been living in Florida for over a year, and they were still paying taxes on this place. So they were like, "Just fucking get rid of it," to the realtor, and so here I am. And because of the circumstances I live in a condominium, there is a condo board. And because there's a condo board, we get missives from the condo board. And one of them that confused me for like 2 or 3 years while I lived here because I didn't have any idea what was going on was they were like, "Hey, yeah, we're hiring a lawyer out of our fund, out of the condo fund, he's going to fight the city for us. He's going to fight the city because we want our apartments to be worth less than what the city has assessed them for. So we'll keep you updated on that. The assessment says they're worth, X. We think they're worth, half of X, and we'll let you know how it goes." And I was all like, "That's weird. I wonder why they would do that." And then, I just wander off like a confused goat. And now I have a better grasp on things, and it's all about keeping the property taxes down. But despite this guy that the condo board hired fighting tooth and nail, the prices have just been screaming towards the stratosphere. And this is Chicago, which all my friends from around the country tell me is, wow, it's cheap there. And it's horrible.
Relatively, yes.
Yeah, what property costs, it's horrifying.
There's a similar thing here in Korea that's really weird and feels backward. So Korea is all apartments. Everywhere you go, there's really tall apartments, and the a lot of the money comes from people finding like these shorter apartments that were built like 20 years ago, tearing them down and building like 50-story apartments in their place.
Mhm.
And everyone wants that to happen to their building because like if they have to get an agreement from the people that live in that apartment, and then they give that they'll give you a free apartment in this new fancy apartment that's worth 10 times more, and then they'll just build like 30 more stories on top of it and make
Oh my
money off of
goodness.
that.
Oh,
And so
wow.
everybody wants that to happen, but there's a law that you can't they can't tear down an apartment unless it gets like an F grade, like if it's unsafe
Hmm.
or like basic, not condemned, but not good enough to be
Close
standing.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of older apartments, they really want to get that F. So like when things break, they're like, oh yeah, well like they will not fit. Like we reported like, oh yeah, our roof is leaking. They're like, shh, don't tell anybody. We're not gonna fix it till the inspectors come and see it. And then like even though it's a great place to live and like they'll make sure the outside isn't necessarily very clean and things.
Hmm.
And so like recently lighting up in the like celebration banner hanging up in front of all the apartments, and I asked Hyun to translate it for me, and it was celebrating. Good news, everyone! We got a D. We're almost there.
Yeah, when I
That reminds me of when I was at SCAD, and I had an apartment that was fairly nice on the inside, but the outside just looked like trash. Like walking up the stairs, I was frequently worried that the stairs were gonna like break under our weight or something like that. And just like the paint was peeling off and like nothing on the outside was repaired. And I found out it is because property taxes in that like area were based on where a good chunk of it was based on the outward appearance of the building.
Mhm. When yeah, I totally get that, but God, where was I fucking going with this? I had a thing I was gonna say and now I've totally forgotten it. But yeah, when we bought this place, one of the things that like the guy doing the inspection was just like very straight up with us. And I should note where I live, the building is old. It is a century plus old. And it got turned into loft apartments in the 80s, back when Chicago was doing its urban renewal thing. And so I kind of I'm extremely fortunate in that I have lived my sort of bullshit kid who grew up in the suburbs, but watched a lot of TV about life in the city dream. I have achieved it in that I live in a loft apartment with exposed brick, and hooray for me. But when we were getting our inspection done on this apartment, and we were, very far along the process to buy it, the guy just turned to me and my husband and went, "Okay, look, this place is absolutely gonna fail a lead test, just so you know." There's not a chance it'll fail a lead test. It won't fail the lead test. This building is over 100 years old. There is definitely lead in the paint in the basement, and enough of it is going to get up here that you will absolutely fail. That will not be a thing that you get to bring up because the building is old. Everything on this block would fail the lead test. Just it's like, just don't let any kids you have lick the walls. You'll be fine. And I mean, I was not prepared to hear that, but it's one of those deals where living in an old building is that's just kind of like one of the things you need to accept. And I don't know how it is in Korea, but in the US, quite frankly, I wouldn't want to live in anything built after 1950 because that's when people kind of stopped giving a fuck and the houses fall apart in 20 years.
Yeah, I'll have
We
the option to pick and choose for sure.
The reason we moved into this apartment is because we were living in a much older 2-bedroom apartment that became a 1-bedroom apartment because we had just had to close the door and not go into the mold room.
Mm.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Black
wow.
mold.
Wow, this sucks.
I mean,
But yeah,
I have mentioned the my first apartment had live bats in the walls.
see, that's just cool though.
No, it's not. Again, you said that last time. It is not cool when they get into your apartment, when rabies
cool.
vectored animals get into your apartment and could bite your cat.
That's rad though.
No.
Well, when I lived when I lived in Costa Rica, like we had bats in the house sometimes. That was one of the benefits. You had bats, you had monkeys, you had scorpions.
What are the benefits?
Uh,
Just, open the door to go in the kitchen and just like there's a monkey and it's in the fruit bowl. It's
oh
just
yeah,
looking at
yeah.
you.
Oh
See?
yeah, we had a mommy and her baby come in and just chill out, like leave me alone right now. I'm eating your bananas. Be like, that's fine. Do
Badger, it
you?
would have been cool if bats didn't carry rabies and I didn't want my cat to get
Oh, yeah.
rabies.
That's
I mean,
coward
we
plot.
did have we had like this amazing gazebo big enough to have like huge parties in that was one of the selling points of the house, that we couldn't go in because an entire colony of bats had moved in there. And no matter how many times you clean it, an hour later it would just be white, covered in
Oh my
guano.
oh,
But
that
the
sounds
house was a house
amazing.
you'd see every once in a while you get a bat flap through, but it was not
That
too bad
sounds
there.
amazing, honestly. It's like
That's one of those places where, like I said, I can $100 a month go live in this
yeah.
two-story beach house, like my own private ocean. And the monkeys were
Yeah.
the best part. My favorite thing about the monkeys is that they were organized. You're in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the jungle, and like if you wanted to go to the grocery store, it was a 12-hour trip, and you'd have to do shopping in Panama,
Wow.
another country. There was a guy.
Wow.
There was a guy who came twice a week named Emilio. When I moved in, I thought he was a political figure because every single person had signs that said Emilio sí, Emilio no. But that's actually just if you wanted Emilio to stop his produce truck.
Oh my
And
Oh,
god.
neat.
it was one road, so he would drive through the whole along this peninsula, and the monkeys would send one scout to follow along the electrical lines and watch who
Oh my
bought what vegetables.
oh my
And then
god.
when Emilio stopped, you'd see that monkey run back, like a 30-minute trip back to the beginning to the tree full of monkeys. And then those monkeys would all go to every single house that bought bananas or whatever fruit they
Oh
liked
my
and just sit in a
god.
tree and look cute until someone threw them some fruit.
Oh my god, that's fucking amazing. That's fucking amazing. I love that shit. That is like are you familiar with Slab City?
I'm not.
Yeah, Slab City is everyone Google Slab City right
No.
now. Slab City is this unincorporated settlement, I think is the technical term, in California, somewhere out in the Salt Flats, where it's not legally a city or a settlement or a town or a village or anything. It's a bunch of people who parked their RVs in the desert or built them out of trash in the middle of the desert. And it has become this
Oh,
sort of
can y'all hear the
weird
mosquito trap?
no,
Okay.
but it has become this weird outlaw is strong, but it's like it exists in this quasi-legal state where it's not really on any map. It's not there's no police who are in charge of Slab City or anything like that. There's no mayor, there's no municipal body of any sort. It's just maybe like 3 or 400 people chilling in the desert in the middle of nowhere somewhere. And you talking about the fruit truck made me think of the Amazon truck that goes out to Slab City because a dude drove out there one day representing Amazon and he was just like, "You guys know you can order shit off Amazon and we'll get it to you, right?" And they're like, "We don't have any roads." And he's like, "I don't remember saying that was a problem." And like, "Okay, but the thing is we don't have any roads, so we don't have any addresses, so you wouldn't know where to drop it." And he's like, "Oh no, it's fucking cool. Make a sign, choose a name and a number and put it out in front of your house. And when you buy shit off Amazon, we will make sure if you put that address with the name and number in that it'll get to you." And so if you ever go to Slab City, you will see these signs in front of people's houses where they've just made up their road and made up their number on that road. And like people who live right by each other will have different addresses. And the Amazon driver who delivers on a weekly basis to Slab City knows all of the houses. So it's like, "Oh yeah,
Joe in the
669
chat
Bristol
says
Lane."
they have heavy opinions about Slab City and they would like to talk to you about it sometime.
Oh yeah, I have Slab City opinions as well. I've watched a couple documentaries, and a certain kind of person appears to live there. And that's as far as it goes. But I thought it was fascinating that like there are people like in their trailers putting together a sign that says 66669, Petunia ass way. And if you put that on your trailer and you go to Amazon and you buy shit, it says 66669 Petunia ass way, you will get it. I
In
thought
the
that was funny.
apartment I lived in with the bats in the walls, that was the same apartment where I looked out my window and I saw my neighbors pushing a shopping cart. No, okay, this was one of those apartments with like a community pool in like the center, like all the apartments surround the pool. And I
Mhm.
saw my some of my neighbors downstairs pushing a shopping cart towards the pool, and in it were animal bones, which
Oh.
were clearly a lot of animal bones from a hunt. They had clearly been skinned and had the meat removed, and they went to the pool and cleaned off the bones in the pool. An entire shopping cart full of animal bones.
Bloody bones.
They were not bloody. The blood had been
Ah.
removed, but they did need to be scrubbed.
They didn't want to do it in their place, so they just
Nope,
did
they
it where
did it in the
everyone went.
community pool where the children swim.
Oh, that's so fucking gross and weird. Ew.
I remember
I
staring
was
out my window going, like, I'm not gonna say his name, that feels weird, but calling to my ex at the time, being like, come look at this.
Don't swim in that pool.
And he was from England, so he already had a lot of opinions about Texas. He had many disparaging opinions about Texas, so this is just another thing. Like, okay, all right.
He would call his mom and be like, they would clean their bones in the public pool.
But they did clean their bones in the public pool, though. It's not a lie.
But I just imagine him saying all of Texas does this rather than like select individuals.
I suppose. I mean, to be fair.
Yeah.
He said enchiladas looked like vomit, though. We had a fight.
He also said jalapenos wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
he
was
like
called them
aggressively
jalapenos.
wrong.
He called them jalapenos, and I lost my fucking mind.
Well, to be fair, when you explained
Not to be fair.
No, when you explained his reasoning, I'm not saying he's right, but I understand why.
No.
Yeah, his
There is
reasoning,
no
by the way,
reasoning.
everyone, explains why people in the UK pronounce a lot of things super
They
fucking
say,
wrong.
or at least his family said Don Juan.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. The reason, everyone, is that their
It's
justification.
racism.
Well, it's more nationalism than racism because they'll do the same thing for shit in America. But their reasoning is, okay, there is a way to say something. Like, for example, mañana in Spanish. You know, if you speak Spanish and you say tomorrow, you say mañana. But the thing is, a person who lives in, let's say, London, they don't speak Spanish. They speak English. So when they say mañana, when they see the word rather, mañana, they're going to say manana or whatever because they are pronouncing it how you would pronounce it in English, which is the language they speak. Pronouncing it properly would be speaking another language, which they refuse to do. And I thought that was so fucking funny the first time I heard it.
Awful.
Oh,
I made the mistake when I was in England to go to a Tex-Mex restaurant.
oh no.
It was a horrible mistake.
No. Oh, I'd never do that.
Just awful.
One of my first, when I was first here in Korea in 2002, this was long before there were any Western restaurants. There were barely coffee shops. Now anything you want you can get, but at that time there was nothing, and I was so desperate for some Western food that I heard there was a Bennigan's in another city. And I took the bus to this Bennigan's. I ordered some nachos, and when I'm sitting there, I realize I am eating fake Mexican food in a fake Irish restaurant owned by an American chain in Korea. This is the furthest from nachos you could ever get.
Yes. Honestly, though, it's kind of weird because in contrast, an H Mart recently opened up a walk away from me, and I just about lost my fucking mind. I was so happy because I was one of sort of the earlier adopters of a chef on YouTube called Mangchi, and she is kind of one of the primary figures of popularizing Korean cookery in North America. And I began watching her years and years ago, and a lot of what she like said you needed, I would have to order off Amazon. But now Korean food is popular enough in North America that I can just like walk someplace and get like 5 different kinds of kimchi and 5 different kinds of frozen dumplings and 5 different kinds of fishball and just all the ribeye sliced ultra thin for hot pot, and it's fucking great.
Been
It's
sitting here
fucking great.
trying to remember exactly what was wrong with the Tex-Mex, and I just remember. I don't know how to explain it, but they made Tex-Mex the way we make Italian food, like it's all
So,
casserole style.
all fucked up and weird.
Yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. Like
Although
they made Tex-Mex the way they fucked up Tex-Mex the way we fuck up Italian food.
yeah. Ryan, do you have a Chicago style pizza in Korea?
Oh yeah, there's a few places. They're notorious. I haven't tried them, but they're notorious for being not good.
Yeah, I saw a thing, and again, I took psychic damage. A thing on Instagram because I follow a lot of food Instagrams, and as a result, they serve me a lot of food content. And one of them is, you have to try this Japanese style Chicago deep dish. And I swear to God, all it was a charcoal black pastry shell filled with fondue cheese. And that's it. Like I, it's just one of those things where you can't communicate for like 3 seconds. You can't even speak after you see them cut a slice and lever it out as if it's a slice of pizza, a triangle. But no, there's no tomato sauce under there. There's none of that. It's literally just a slab of melted fondue cheese in a charcoal black pastry shell. And I try not to be that person. It's all like, your style of food is not legitimate because there's nothing more fucking tedious than authenticity arguments with food. But what the fuck are you
I, w-
showing me?
I was warned by friends I'm going to have to make lists of things that my mom might have to send me when I get to Chicago.
Oh,
And
such
I
as?
don't know yet, but the people just told me, like, oh, get used to not finding, like, the things in the international section that you expect to find.
Really? Like what?
I don't know! They just told me that! Now I'm scared!
That's weird because,
Like, what? Do they not have Rotel?
they definitely have fucking Rotel.
Okay, then that's fine. Then we're good. We're Gucci.
Like, so, Amanda, that might be like in the rest of Illinois, you wouldn't find them. But
Yeah.
like in Chicago, because it's a hub and a city.
Yeah, it's a literal fucking metropolis. We have Rotel.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
People were warning me this, and I'm like, what do you mean by that? What will they not have?
yeah, there are things in Chicago
And
that
it also might
Like
be
no dice
like
green chilies? Like what?
yeah. But
it also might be like the person talking is technically in Chicago, but is on the very, very outskirts of it. So
Gotcha.
maybe they have to go into downtown Chicago to get it. But
yeah, don't get me wrong, if you get in a car and you straight shot drive and you're out of Chicago, drive an hour, maybe 2 hours, you will see Amish carts. You'll see Amish buggies. Like, that's a thing that will happen. But Chicago's an actual real city. You'll get Rotel, you will
it's
get Goya, you will
it's
get yeah.
it's like Amanda. There's a Wajimaya in Seattle, but
Yeah.
there isn't going to be a Wajimaya in Eastern Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ryan, is there anything you miss other than food?
So what's weird is how much Korea has changed. Like when I was here in
Oh.
2002, it was like I'm going back in a year. I'm gonna go to this restaurant. I'm gonna go to this restaurant. I can't wait for this food. And now, like literally, I went back to America, and I'm like, none of the things I want are available in Michigan anymore. Like all the restaurants went
Oh.
out of business. And now, and
Whoa.
like literally in Korea, within a 5-minute walk, I can get any kind of food that I want.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
really done the exact opposite.
whoa.
Everything's here, and like of course there are Koreanized versions. You're talking about pizza, but
Mhm.
um, like there's still authentic pizza places that you can go to. They're just more expensive. But like
Yeah.
if you go to a normal Korean pizza place, it is impossible to get that pizza without corn.
See, that sounds
If
so
you
good.
ask if you ask them for no corn in your pizza, they look at you like you just asked for no crust. Like, how do you make it without bread on the bottom? Like, where would the sauce go? But it's like you have to have corn, you have to have pickles on the side. But you can still go and have that.
Awful.
There's always the arguments about like there's a Facebook group that I'm in called Busan Food, and it's people talking about food or in restaurants and stuff. And it can be one of the most like fight inducing
Yeah.
what communities in the world, because it's like there's a rule that like there's a lot of rules you have to follow if you ever mention Mexican food,
Oh my
because it'll
god.
immediately evolve into like a 2-month fight
Yeah.
about what's authentic, and everyone's like every city has a different definition of what authentic Mexican food is, and none
Yeah.
of them are actual Mexican food. So let's just calm down.
Yeah,
Yep.
seriously, it's so fucking tedious. There's almost nothing worse when you discuss food than that one person, because there's always at least one who will butt in and be all like, "Ugh, it's not how you make it."
Is
It's like,
it
shut the fuck up. Yes, it is. It's literally how I make it.
That's sometimes you, Spike.
It is sometimes me. I know that, and I try
Okay.
and stop myself. But
Okay. As long as we understand.
yeah, I literally just did it with, air quotes deep dish pizza in Japan, where it's like I don't understand. But Ryan, hey, I was actually watching a bunch of documentaries. Like my primary form of entertainment, everyone, is just letting documentaries on YouTube just stream. And I came across one which was kind of fascinating because it was about Korea, and because I knew I was going to be talking to you, I like stopped and paid attention instead of working. And one of the things it discussed was how quickly Korea changed, and you talking about how it changed just in the 10 years you were there. That made me recall it. And one of the statistics, and I swear this is true, everyone, one of the statistics that they brought up is in the 1960s, so not that long ago, Korea's literacy rate was 40%. So there are people who are still alive right now who remember when the majority of people who live in Korea couldn't read. And that's part of the reason why, to this day, when you're signing official documents in Korea, a lot of people do it with a little stamp in red ink. Like, obviously, people can read now, but it's just, it's a holdover from when literacy, less than half the population was considered literate.
Well, the reason for that is because within like people's grandmas were not allowed to learn or speak Korean,
Yeah.
and when it was a Japanese colony, they would literally be like beaten for saying their own name. They're forced to take Japanese names, books, banned books. You were not allowed to read books in Korean. And so they literally were not allowed to be literate in their own language. And then when Korea stopped being a Japanese colony, all of a sudden, okay, we're going back to this language that you've been not allowed to learn.
Yeah, that's fascinating too because Americans' sort of concern of Japan when they went through their "I'm going to be imperialist now" phase, it begins and ends with World War II. It begins with Pearl Harbor and ends with Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That's like where the American school books cut off. But Japan had been flexing in that region of the world long before that, and part of that was their subjugation of Korea.
Yeah, it's Korea has had a long history of people trying to take over and take
Yeah.
control, and that's why Korea has gotten so good at fighting back because that's all they've ever done is
Yeah.
like,
They got
okay,
Russia
we're done
right
with this guy. Here's the
there.
next guy.
They got Russia right there. They got Japan right there. And nowadays, they got North Korea right there. And
Mhm.
it's like,
Then but then the good thing is how good they've gotten at fighting it is that like
yeah,
there was a period last year where every single living former president was in jail at the same time.
for
You know,
corruption or,
yeah, from corruption. Just like not the corruption is the hopeful thing, but the fact that they actually got all of their former living presidents in jail
ugh,
by like
yeah.
whereas in America it's like, oh, we could never do that.
See, as an Illinoisian, I
Yeah,
disagree. Like the last couple or even three governors we've had, like spent some time in prison. And
Yeah, but they're not the president.
no, they're not the
Like,
president, but hey, keep your fingers crossed, Kel. Say your prayers
but
every
are
night.
we also gonna get
Spike,
all
I
the
would
other
never
living
get my
presidents
hopes
put
up
in?
like that.
You never
Yeah,
know.
we we have other presidents that also committed war crimes that are not in jail.
Here's the thing, though.
Like,
All right, I am on Twitter
No, you
every day
can't
seeing shit
convince
like
me to
that.
have optimism
Okay,
in
no,
this.
here's the thing. I'm not calling it optimism. What I'm calling it right now is realism. Number one, there are a lot of old white men who are either dead in jail right now that spent most of their lives being completely untouchable. They were completely untouchable until the exact moment they were fucking not. Okay? No one 10 years ago thought Harvey Weinstein was going to fucking die in prison. No one 10 years ago thought Jeffrey Epstein was going to fucking die in prison. People would have laughed in your face. They would have told you that's never happening. So I'm just going to put that out there. Different cases, but it's there. Number two, the thing a lot of people seem to forget is when Al Capone went to prison for all those years, it wasn't for being a gangster. It wasn't for all the shit
it was
everyone
for
knew he
tax
did.
fraud.
It was for mail fraud and tax evasion, which are
Yeah.
the things that, quite frankly, a lot of us could probably go to prison for. But the thing is,
I mean,
it's the
I
thing
could go
that
to
seems
jail for treason.
I
If I put
believe
my
in you,
mind to
Amanda. You
it.
can absolutely.
Uh,
I believe in you. But
Spike, actually, most of us would not be able to, like, do not have a big enough penalty on our
That's true.
taxes legally to go to jail.
They'd probably
to
dock my
to go
wages,
to
but that's about it.
yeah, like the punishment for not paying your taxes is when it is
Taxes.
below $1 million
is pay your taxes.
is that they dock your wages. Also, they can't go after you for any taxes over 10 years old. So
Okay then. But
yeah.
what I was
Yeah, I'm
saying
just saying.
is
Yeah.
anybody who actually like first of all, number one,
I
everyone
need to
don't
make $1
fucking
million
listen to
so
pundits
I can go to
because
jail for tax
yeah,
evasion.
don't listen to pundits. They're really paid to give you opinions, not facts. That's
I
the
never
difference.
do.
But everyone who actually is familiar with law right now can tell you we are in the prelims of setting up a bullshit mail fraud tax thing. And the bullshit mail fraud tax thing is not bullshit because it's not true. It's bullshit because we are absolutely 100% sure we can get you on this. And it's just a periphery to what is currently happening with the classified documents. Merrick Garland didn't go in front of a judge and said, I have a fifi, give me a search warrant. He presented evidence.
Again,
And
you can say these things, and I refuse to believe.
and Merrick Garland is the fucking guy with the 100% success rate. Again, that doesn't mean anything right now.
He's got a name that makes me think he runs a cookie factory.
Yeah, and I'm just putting that out there. Also, a thing I think is super important to take note right now is that I think a lot of leftists, not all, but a lot, not most, but a lot, they consider pessimism and dogmatic pessimism a sign of maturity and intelligence, even when the hard and indisputable evidence counters that. So they just
Oh no, I'm
see a
dumb
news
as hell
line.
and pessimistic.
No, they see a headline, they immediately run to the comments and they post nothing's going to happen because nothing ever happens, and they go away feeling very smart. I think that's literally the same shit that Trumpies do. It's just when they do it, they smile. That's it. Neither of you is more in tune or more in the know than the other.
Yeah, you assholes who are in our audience listening right now. We know you're there, apparently.
I didn't say that we won't have one president in jail in the future. I'm saying we're not going to have all our presidents in jail in the future. Because all of our living presidents have committed war crimes.
I mean, yeah.
And will not go to jail for them.
Anyway, Ryan, I appreciate the work you're doing in making sure I don't have to draw color camo.
Oh.
Yes, I'm doing my best.
Thank you.
Sorry to go off tact there, Ryan. It's just
how dare you? We've never done that before.
It's been bouncing around in my head.
I'll say that, like, one of my favorite things about politics in Korea and the way they've changed because of what they've been through is like the hero worship isn't there as much, and like even people who do have that, like, there's not the expectation that you have to be polite just because they're a powerful person. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the statue of Chun Do-hwan.
Is that the one who's been bashed to pieces?
Yeah. So the guy who was dictator during when Banned Book Club took place, he's been under house arrest since then, and he was being sued, and he had to go to court in another city, in Gwangju, where the massacre happened. And so, just to make sure he knew how welcome he was, the city put a statue of him in the square in front of the courthouse. He would have to pass by every day. It wasn't a statue of him like a normal statue. It was a statue of him bound and gagged on his knees in a jail cell in a prison uniform. And hanging from the prison bars were like plastic hammers that anyone can come up and beat him with.
Oh my God!
A lot of people just decided to beat him with their shoes, and they would do it while he passed by.
Just making eye contact.
People beat it so much, this statue's head broke in half.
Oh.
And they decided, you know, we're not even going to fix it because this is all the memorial that he deserves.
That's
like,
amazing.
Let's just have a statue of him with his head beaten off by the people of the city.
That's amazing and perfect.
Just like, this is our monument to you.
I love that. I fucking love that. That's so great. Although I have to say, yeah, the whole expectation of of manners. This is only, again, very tangentially related. I'm just thinking about it because it's in the same region. But there's a thing that's going on right now where if you keep track of international politics, you've noticed all the ambassadors of China right now are being super fucking shitty on Twitter. Like they're being the worst, most unimaginative Twitter trolls. And when I say that, I mean they're responding to, like, let's say a German ambassador tweets something like, "We recognize Taiwan." They're just responding to it with "dumb bitch." That is literally what they're doing. And so I think this is a global phenomenon. The whole sort of maybe hero worship sucks and is bad, actually, and I'm here for it, especially in the UK. Hey, UK, did you know you don't have to have a king? You don't have to. You don't have to. You could stop it right now. You could stop it right now.
I want to share this very fun story that came across my timeline recently.
Yeah.
Which is state lawmakers want a statue of Lenin removed from Seattle.
I was not aware.
But it's on private property, so they can't do anything.
Oh, well,
like
yeah,
they were trying to make a stink of like, why is our state like honoring Lenin? And like,
why not?
It's not like it's a private property. Like,
yeah.
Next
time I feel comfortable with like going out in public, the statue I want to visit is Man with Fish. Amanda, I'll have to take you to see Man with Fish. It is a Chicago statue that is.
If I wait for you to show me, I'll never see it.
No, I'm not going now because it's fucking like diseased, like everything. But everyone who wants to visit Chicago, we have a great aquarium. It's called the Shed Aquarium, and if you go out the back door, there is a fountain there, and it is simply a man holding a fish that is just as big as him. And the fish is doing that like perpetual water vomit thing as part of the fountain. So he's just standing there holding a perfectly, like standing straight up, standing on its fin, like its legs. And he's just like gently holding the fish as if it were his wife. And the fish's mouth is just
God, goals.
And if you I can't even fucking deal. And if you Google Man with Fish statue Chicago, you will see I am not lying.
I wonder if there's Rule 34 of that.
And why did they decide to commemorate this fish?
I don't know. It's just a fish. It's outside the Shed Aquarium, and is a man lovingly cradling a fish as if it is his wife. It is the same height as him, and is perpetually vomiting water.
I recently saw a very funny thing that was defending the stereotypical dating website picture of a guy holding up a fish that he caught. And they were like, listen, the reason why this is a great photo for dating websites is because it shows.
Oh shit.
So there is I need to tell you about the statue outside my apartment. This is not on public property. This is up by the city. This is official city public art. It is about a 2-minute walk from my apartment. It is a statue. It is like a, I think, 6-7 foot statue of Chewbacca.
I'm sorry.
It is a statue on your way from leaving Lake Jackson towards Angleton. Like if you're going from Lake Jackson to Houston, there is a very large full body statue of Stephen F. Austin with a gun in one hand and holding a rolled up document in the other. And that document is positioned in such a way for a long time as you're coming up on him, he just looks like he's got a giant boner. I will miss Stephen F. Austin's giant boner.
I am certain that you will.
I will.
I'm sure.
I'm trying to find a picture, but none of these. For some reason, none of these people trying to take these nice photos of the Stephen F. Austin statue are getting it with the boner on display.
Yeah, not getting the boner. Yeah, Ryan, just in case you didn't know, Amanda is seriously considering, I don't want to like 100% speak for you here, is seriously considering moving to Chicago.
No, I'm gonna do it as long as I don't get rejected on my applications.
Okay, Amanda is definitely going to do it as long as she doesn't get rejected on her application. I'm already kind of like planning stupid garbage places to take her that don't help anyone. It's going to be great.
All right, I'm going to post this.
You should go see Sue.
Yeah, but Sue like has a point and is good.
Sue is cool. Why don't you want Amanda to see Sue?
Because I'd rather she see Man with Fish.
Can I be honest? No, here's the thing. I'm not really interested in, this is gonna sound awful, I'm not really interested in like exhibits like Sue and stuff. It's like there's something wrong with my brain where it's like I've seen pictures of that. I'm good. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't like sightseeing like famous buildings. I just don't like to. I don't know what's wrong with me.
So-
I don't want to go to the museum and see famous paintings. I just don't have that interest or drive.
Do you want to see Man with Fish?
I do want to actually see Man with Fish. Yes. I would rather see.
I have posted pictures in the Discord of the Chewbacca statue.
Ooh, I want to see.
Forgot to mention that he's doing a Jesus pose.
Oh, thank
Oh
God.
wow! Yep, there it is. Yeah, yeah.
Let me scroll down.
Oh wait, so these are like sculpted wigs. These are actually part of the statue. They're not like added additions to it.
They're not like randos decided Chewbacca needs this anime girl hair.
That's incredible.
No,
That
the
was-
artist decided that's what
That was
needs to be
part
done.
of the vision. Okay, I'm gonna share this with chat.
That's beautiful. Yes, please. Everyone needs to see this because it is so much better than I imagined.
Are you gonna let me save it though? Oh yes, here it is.
Hey, Amanda,
What?
do you want to go to the tuberculosis sanitarium?
What is that? Depends on the details.
It's just a tuberculosis sanitarium.
No, again, it depends on the details. If it's an empty building, no.
Oh. Do you want to go see The Secret Mermaid?
What's the Secret Mermaid? You have to tell me details. Also, I have shared Chewbacca covered in wigs.
The Secret
And
Mermaid.
I'm gonna put next to him the only photo of the Stephen F. Awesome statue I can find that even partially demonstrates the boner. It's gonna be a feast for your eyes. Here it is.
Yeah, the Secret Mermaid is it's like down on Oakwood Beach. It's kind of like way out of town, but not super way out of town. It's there it is. It's 4 people got together and they found this like big chunk of, I don't even know what it is, maybe limestone, and they carved a resting mermaid in it, and then they just left it there, and then like did this all in like a couple of nights, I think. And it was never on any list. It's not official in any capacity. It's just if you go to Oakwood Beach, there's just a mermaid.
Oh no, I don't want to see it.
You don't want to see the mermaid?
I'm sure there's a picture of it.
Oh my God.
I'm
How-
boring and I'm stupid, Spike. We know
No, you're
this.
not. Stop it. Stop it.
I like
stop.
to look
Oh.
at I like to look at weird stuff. I'm just I don't know.
Do you like cemeteries?
No.
Do you like man-eating lions? Oh, you're pausing.
What do you mean?
Do you like man-eating lions?
I don't think that's a good thing to happen, no.
Would you like to go see some man-eating lions?
I don't want to see lions eat people, no.
No, they won't eat anyone anymore. They're dead.
I don't want to see dead lions, no.
I'm trying to help you.
You're not giving me information, so I have to go with what you've given me. I don't mean to shout, but
I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you. You won't let me help you.
why won't you tell me tell me so I can give you an answer?
Well, no, seriously though, there's like a bunch of really fun places.
I'm sure there are, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, we can go to like bookstores. There's a ton of really good bookstores.
That
we
would
can
be
go to
fun.
like
I was just in Chicago a few months ago, and literally the only place I went to was the ACAB bookstore.
Oh,
Oh,
cool. Yeah, there's a lot of like really good comic book stores. There's a lot of really good secondhand bookstores. So we can totally do those. And there's an antiquities. Yeah, there's an antiquities place called Woolly Mammoth that's really cool. We can go look at that and you'll like it. But if you don't want to go to graveyards, it's okay.
I'm just not interested in graves.
They're amazing.
I just don't care.
Oh, they're so weird.
I got
love
my
it.
fill of them. It's fine.
It's amazing. There's this one that's so good. All right, for folks who don't know, all the really best graves are for people everyone is super
Oh, by the way, I
surprised
have no
by.
idea how long we've been going because the stream
100 minutes.
the stream started and stopped, so my timer's gone.
100 minutes.
We usually stop at 8 or try to, or 8 my time. So
No,
we
I-
got 10 minutes.
I'm
He's
not
got,
worried
like,
about it.
20
I'm not
minutes.
worried about it, and we can keep going. I'm just letting you know I don't have a timer anymore because the Streamlabs did its
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Oh, the Mutter Museum. Beck H. I have been to the Mutter Museum. It lives up to the hype. Can't recommend it enough. It's really cool. But all the best graveyards, everyone, are for people everyone is super surprised died. So if they weren't ready for you to die, then your grave is probably going to be mwah. And there's one in Chicago at the Graceland Cemetery, which is like a girl died, like she was really young, and the parents were like, "Oh fuck," so they
Oh, you
commissioned
told
like
us about this one.
the huge girl sitting in the marble statue, sitting in the marble
Yeah.
chair.
We've definitely talked about
and-
this in a previous Geek Show.
Okay, yeah. Well, the Graceland Cemetery is really good.
She supposedly wanders the cemetery. Supposedly the statue comes alive at night and wanders the cemetery.
That's what
like
everybody
a story about
fucking
it.
says. I don't believe. But
Yeah.
also, there's a place, and I'm sorry if people are like shopping is not fun, but there is a place called American Science and Surplus that's just outside Chicago, and it's basically this giant store full of cool sciencey crap. It's like the way I talk about it, it doesn't sound fun, but trust me, it's fucking fun.
Now that interests me.
Okay. It's like if you think to yourself, I can't go another fucking minute without a anatomically correct plastic skeleton that's life size. Like
Yes.
this is where
Yes. Now you're talking about things I want to see and do.
Yeah, it's super just like it's run by a very weird person, clearly.
Of course.
And it's got a bunch of really cool shit in it. It's like the only bad thing about it is it's out in like Park Ridge or something. So it's
I
kind
have
of
a
far.
car, so I don't care.
Exactly. I was about to say, but you have a car, so it'd be way easy for you to get there. And H Mart is there.
Do you still have a Kia Soul, Amanda?
No, that's the car I lost. I have the blue Chevy
okay.
Sonic the Hedgehog now.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, there's a lot of good shit in Chicago.
I miss my Kia Soul very badly.
I know you'll probably be all like the museum suck. I don't want to see the Art Institute. The Art Institute is fun. It's fun. I'm sorry. It's fun.
Yawn.
But if you don't want to go, that's fine.
Yawn.
Spike, I have been to Chicago multiple times, and you have never offered to show me any of these.
To be fair, Kel, you've never. To be fair, Kel, you have never been as pathetic as I am. So
no, Kel is here on fucking business trips. They are here to make fucking money. Why would
there was one time.
$50
No, there was one time where I went to a con in Boston, and then C2E2 was like a week later, so I spent almost a whole week on your couch.
And you spent it going out and doing shit on your own.
No, I didn't. I was drawing,
but
again,
again,
yeah,
I'm very pathetic.
Amanda, this is
I am
being pathetic.
I am. It inspires an urge in people to like
quit talking.
Help me broaden my horizon. I'm not. This is reality.
I'm just saying, Spike. I didn't ask you what's cool shit to see in Chicago because you made it clear, like, that I need to entertain myself.
Well,
but you never told me about the cool things in Chicago.
To be honest, at the time, I probably wasn't aware of Atlas Obscura. That is like where I get 90% of my cool shit to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're forgiven.
Like Atlas Obscura has
you're slightly forgiven.
It has broadened my horizons significantly. For folks who don't know, I don't know how you wouldn't know at this point, but there is a site called Atlas Obscura. And if you go there, it has landmarks that are not like the Shedd Aquarium, the Field Museum, the Sears Tower, like whatever, fuck that. It's about places that are like cool and unusual.
Everything that I know about Chicago that's a landmark is in the Dresden Files.
Oh yeah,
that is. Of course. I have walked around Chicago and went, Harry Dresden burnt this place down.
Yeah. I actually have a profile at Atlas Obscura. I'm gonna see if I can't copy and paste it into the Geek Show guest stream so Amanda can post it to the chat.
No, I'm not posting shit.
Thank you, Amanda. But yeah, it shows all the shit that, what I've done, where I've been. And obviously I haven't done anything since the beginning of the pandemic because I don't want to die. But it has a list of cool places to see all around the world. And you can see the last place I was Angoulême, France in 2020. But before that, when I went to California to do Kala, I think it was, I was at the Museum of Jurassic Technology, which I highly recommend. Ryan, have you ever been to the Museum of Jurassic Technology?
I have not.
Oh my God, dude. Next time you're in California, you gotta go. It's really good. Right. It's so bizarre. And then in London, I found...
California is a big place. He could theoretically be in California and be nowhere
Yeah,
near.
I mean, this is
Um,
LA-ish. If Ryan, next time,
yeah.
if you are ever in LA-ish territory, the Museum of Jurassic Technology, make some time, definitely go fucking baller. When I was in London, I found a police box that looked exactly like a TARDIS, so of course I had to go and find it and pose in front of it. And I got the thing that was like fascinating and fun and cool to me that no one gives a shit about except me is I went to
Spike, you
the
really went to platform 9 3/4.
I went to platform 9 3/4. It was right there. So why not? I went to the original Twinings
I
tea
thought
shop.
you were cool.
No, well, I don't know how you got that idea.
I
I went
guess
to
it was the
the
mohawk.
I went to the Twinings tea shop. Like if you go to any tea aisle in any country, you'll see Twinings tea on the tea aisle. I went to the original shop opened by Twinings, and I got an original, like they call it Lady Grey with hints of orange, like an original. You could only get it there. Tea mix. It was
Bare
fucking
chested
good.
George Washington, huh?
It's so bad. It's worse than you think. It's worse than it looks there.
Wow.
All right. If anyone here remembers my ancient ass webcomic, which Ryan, by the way, if you want to know how fucking real me and Ryan are, he made a guest comic for my old webcomic, Templar, Arizona, my fucking 20 years ago webcomic, Templar, Arizona. That's how long we've been knowing each other. And there is a scene in there where there is a really awful Greco Roman Jimmy Carter. And it was
Oh god,
inspired
yeah,
by
shit.
yeah, it was inspired by this really awful Greco-Roman bare-chested George Washington that's in Washington D.C. That even when they made it, like back in the day when they made it, they're like, "Oh my god, this is really fucking bad. This is really bad," and they
I
like hit it.
I am looking at
Yeah, I'm gonna link
the
the chat to
Portland
it directly.
section of Atlas Obscura.
Uh huh.
It's basic bitch shit.
Well, add
Because
to
that
it
is
then.
because that is all that Portland has is quote unquote weird stuff.
Uh,
One of the things on here is Hippo Hardware. That is 5 blocks from my house.
well,
Like it's just a hardware store that has hippos painted on the wall. That's
it's
it.
boring to
Like
you. It's boring to you.
Voodoo Donuts is on here. I'm judging them
Okay.
hard.
All right. All right. I have to be
Voodoo Donut
temporarily terrible.
sucks.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
If y'all are gonna say it, good. Hi, H Bomber guy. What's up? Voodoo Donuts is strictly tourist shit. It's as touristy as going to like the Empire
Those
State Building.
donuts are nasty.
They're not good. I've had
They're
them. They're
they're
not good.
like pure sugar. There's like they're running completely on like, aren't we wacky?
Yeah. They're not good. I've had unbelievably good donuts. So I know like I don't hate donuts, but if you go to Voodoo Donuts and those are the only donuts you ever had, I imagine it's easy to convince yourself you hate donuts.
Well, like
I mean,
I
I'm not a
like
big donut
Dunkin'
fan to begin with, but
I like Dunkin' Donuts. I'm not being a snob about donuts.
Yeah.
Voodoo Donuts
look,
is
I'm
bad.
using my own comic characters to speak for me. And that's why Chablis' mom asserts that donuts are dessert, not breakfast.
That's entirely fair. By the way, everyone here who has ever made fun of the British Museum for like having sticky fingers and stealing shit and just like marching to other people's country and walking off with shit, when you're in Chicago, this sounds very weird, but when you're in Chicago, go to the Tribune building. It's easy to
Tell me
find.
why
They
I'm not
also
walking
steal a
into
bunch of
another
shit.
trap.
The Tribune building is easy to find. If you ask people where it is, they will literally point to it because it's a skyscraper. It has cemented into its walls shit that people reporting for the Tribune just stole when they were in random countries. So there's a piece of the frippery of Notre Dame just cemented into the walls. There are pieces of mosques from various countries. There are chunks from the Forbidden City in China. Like, you know, they didn't get these by asking. They just fucking took them. And
I
they're
love a good
cemented.
Forbidden Rock.
Yeah, they're just cemented into the walls of the Tribune by people who work for the Tribune. The one thing I think they might have asked for, and even then I'm not sure, they have a piece of melted and warped girders from the World Trade Center cemented into the wall. Maybe they asked for that. I don't fucking know. They literally don't even fucking tell you how they got them. They're just there. So it's like the British Museum, but a wall.
And
My
Yeah.
question is, should I add the abandoned water park to the Atlas Obscura Busan page? Because it
Absolutely.
is the best attraction in Busan, but if I send people there, they might step on twisted tetanus metal and die.
Actually, if you
See,
scroll down, you'll
that's the
see
kind
that
of shit I
there's
would like to do. I would like to go to
yeah.
abandoned like
Yeah,
parks.
but if you like scroll down on a lot of Atlas Obscura pages, you'll see there's a section called "Know Before You Go," and it's basically, "Hey, just so you know, it's not
I
technically
don't want
technically legal.
spoilers.
It's not technically legal for you to be
I don't
here."
want spoilers. Tetanus is part of the experience.
Yeah.
I took a bunch of people there once. Like it's water park, and there's like this 4-story building attached. Used to have a school and a gym and all this stuff. It's just been left to rot. And once
Yeah.
on Halloween, I took a bunch of people there after midnight, and I set up a live action Pokemon role playing game. I designed my own post apocalyptic Pokemon, where I designed my own Pokemon characters, printed them out, and hid them all over this abandoned water park, and had people with flashlights running out to find them while I was hiding in the
Oh,
shadows in a
that's
costume, ready to jump out and
Oh
jump
hell
scare them.
yeah, that's
And it
rad.
was
that's
the
so
most fun
fucking
thing I've ever done in my
cool.
life.
That's so cool. Oh my god, wait a minute. Hold on. Oh. Oh. Okay,
Oh,
this is
oh, oh,
fascinating, everyone.
ew. What?
I have just discovered I was going through my own Atlas Obscura page. I've just discovered a place I have been has been delisted.
Why?
It's a war criminal.
It kind of is a war crime. It's Stone Mountain, Georgia.
The entire mountain is a war criminal.
For folks who don't know, Stone Mountain is sort of like the regressive, racist, lost cause Southerner version of the God, what are those? What's that fucking thing? The Four
M-
Presidents.
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore, thank you. Where they put a bunch of Confederate soldiers and not soldiers, presidents and a general into the face of a mountain. And just like Mount Rushmore, there were a bunch of indigenous people who were all like, "Could you not?" Who were totally ignored. And so now Stone Mountain has been delisted from Atlas Obscura, which is kind of interesting. I have
Oh,
been
good.
there, but yeah, Stonewall Jackson, Jefferson Davis, and Robert E. Lee are on Stone Mountain, and, it is referenced in the "I Have a Dream" speech, and it's very easy to find photos of people online flipping it off, and it's just a garbage display by garbage people. And it's like 10,000% reactionary bullshit, and it has been delisted from Atlas Obscura.
When did it get made?
Oh god, good question. Let's look.
Because it's one of those things. It could be modern alt-right shitheads. It could
Yeah.
be a reaction to the civil rights movement. But also, when Washington was founded, they wouldn't let black people live there. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so it could have like been like, "Hey, welcome to Washington. Here's our racist monument."
Well, here's your answer, Kel. The state of
Yeah.
Georgia made sure it was happening in 1958.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
Oh
So,
Same time
wow.
all those garbage Confederate soldier memorials were going up. 1958. Somebody was feeling sad because
yeah,
black people
no,
had
a
opinions.
lot of the Confederacy memorials went up like
Yeah.
at the beginning of the civil rights movement. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was
God.
literally a white tantrum. Stone Mountain is a white tantrum, just like Confederate soldier statues that were fucking mass produced and are shit quality and come down if you give them a nasty glare. They are also tantrums. It's all fucking tantrums. And it's now delisted. And I like that. That's funny. We've decided to not publish this place on Atlas Obscura. It says at the top now. Wah, wah. But yeah. Anyway. Oh God, it is almost 120 minutes. Y'all want to call it here and start the outros?
Yeah, but I don't want any
Mhm.
outros. Let's just go. I'm just gonna hit the
No.
stop button. Now here I go.
Amanda, stop it.
Ah,
Anyway,
never let me have fun.
thank you for stopping by, everyone, and listening to us talk to Ryan. Ryan, thank you so much for continuing to put your trust in me and Iron Circus for your future creative endeavors. You've
This is
been
the
nothing
nicest you've
but a
ever
fucking
been.
stop it. You
I mean,
you
on this show. On the
Amanda,
show specifically.
Amanda, you have been nothing but a joy and a fucking delight to work with, and I look forward to years to come of creative collaboration with you. I can't wait to see what Occulted, because that's like the next book. I can't wait to see what Occulted does, and a little further out, I can't wait to see what the second student ambassador does, and I hope you're as excited as I am for all of that. Where can people find you online?
You can find me at ryanestrada.com. There's links to everything else. I'm at Ryan Estrada on Twitter. And just find me in your library or bookstore, unless I get banned for,
If you
for
do,
not backing the blue.
and if you do, I guarantee you'll sell 100 more books.
Yeah, just check a dark corner. He's there.
Yeah. I'm Spike, everyone. You can find me at iron_Spike on Twitter. Linked at the very top is my web comic. You can read the whole thing on Twitter if you so desire. I am also on Facebook at Iron Circus Comics. It's a public page, so you can follow us and get updates there. We are on Instagram at just Iron Circus. And please go to ironcircus.com. We have a crowdfund that is finishing at midnight central tomorrow, and we are so close to our stretch goal where everyone gets an enamel pin. It's for the final
Everyone
volume.
on Earth.
Everyone on Earth. It's for the final volume of the Cautionary Fables and Fairy Tales series. We are all out of continents, and there are no interesting fables coming out of Antarctica.
I'm working on another continent. Just give me time.
So this is it. It's called The Lizard Prince and Other South American Stories by South American creators telling South American tales. We're really excited for this one. So if you can, please contribute back, get a copy. And if you are not interested or can't at this time, please retweet, spread the word. Since we are no longer using Kickstarter because they're in bed with blockchain, we are founding everything independently. So we got to put in the work.
Do you have a pinned tweet yet?
No.
Okay, just checking.
I'll make one soon.
Bye.
Also, please like this stream, and also please follow us here on YouTube. I have a tiny little baby dream of getting to 1,000 followers on the Iron Circus Comics YouTube.
You know, it would help if I actually used keywords when I posted these.
Yes, Amanda, it would.
Joe is in my chat telling me that Stone Mountain the plans began in the 1920s.
Yeah, and then they stopped doing it for decades until Black people made noise and they went, and they restarted it again.
Yeah. Anyway, I am Kel McDonald. You can read my comics at kelmcdonald.com. I am the organizer of the Lizard Prince, so yes, please go back it. I make comics about werewolves in the future. I also have a comic called You're the Chosen One, which is about 23 kids getting the same prophecy dream telling them they're the chosen one. You can read that on my Patreon at patreon.com/KelMcDonald. Also, during the Geek Show and in other evening times, I stream artwork. I've been drawing and streaming this whole time at twitch.tv/KelMcDonald. I also have a Discord, which I'm gonna do watch werewolf movie group watches on Saturdays. So if you want to join me for that, message me and I'll let you in. And I'm on Twitter at Kelhound, which is spelt like Hellhound but with a K.
I'm Amanda Lafrene. You will have to solve a series of riddles to find my Twitter, and your only prize will be being forced to read my terrible tweets. Bye.